I'd like to call this meeting of the Regional Transit Board meeting to order. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Absolutely. Director Budge?
Here.
Director Harris?
Here.
Director Howell?
Here.
Director Hume?
Here.
Director Jennings?
Here.
Director Kennedy?
Here.
Director Miller?
Here.
Director Natoli?
Here.
Director Chenier is marked as being absent. Director Cerna?
Here.
Chair Hansen.
Here.
With that, we have a quorum at 100 votes. This meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel. Tonight's meeting will air on February 12th at 9 a.m. and replayed on February 13th at 9 a.m. and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. It is also closed caption. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker card located at the rear of the room and will have 2 minutes to speak. Speaker cards must be turned into the chair prior to the item being called by the clerk. Please provide your speaker card to me or Adam. Please speak into the microphone and state your name for the record. We would appreciate everyone turning off their cell phones. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Rob Carrion from Operating Engineers Local 3 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, first item.
First item is the consent calendar, items 2.1 through 2.4, noting that you have speaker cards on items 2.3 and 2.4.
Thank you. We'll take the public comment first, if that's okay with the board. The first speaker is Sarah Kerber from Sac True on item 2.3. Sarah, you also have a 2.4. Would you like to consolidate those?
No.
Okay.
No, thank you. Hello, my name is Sarah Kerber. I'm with the Sacramento Transit Riders Union. Our members again request an update on the status of the IAT Elevator Replacement project. We hope the project will, we note that this board item is an update to the IAT station, and we hope that the public will again be included in the design concept, as it has been almost 2 years since we were engaged in the project. We see that part of the proposal in this item is to modify the stair and elevator structures at IAT. As we noted in our comments to the board on May 12th, 2019, not only will the elevator modernization project improve the rider experience and accessibility for thousands of riders who use the station daily, but will also save SAC-RT from the costly $10,000 a day bus bridge needed to make sure that those riders can access all parts of the station. Funding was made available in the current budget for elevator replacement, and we hope that we can receive an update on how planning and progress is going. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry, can you provide an update on that for Ms. Kerber? It doesn't have to be now, but if you have an update.
Actually, we sent some stuff back to you
Okay.
Today.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Jeffrey Tartagia on item 2.3 as well.
Again, Jeff Tartagia, and likewise, it is on that item of the elevator. The MAC was presented with, quote, some design for relating to poop shielding. I'm hoping that this board has a full, intense understanding of what is going on with the I-80 elevator and what other considerations that are transpiring and taking place. And again, even reading through the detail of 2.3 doesn't really clarify for the public what is going on and what effective timetable, although I hear June now, but this has been ongoing for quite some time. It would be nice if it does finish out in the fiscal year, but I'm highly suspicious that it will be next year before we will have any replacement on the I-80 elevator.
Thank you, Mr. Tartagia. Next speaker, Sarah Kerber on 2.4. And then after her is Felix Worst on 2.4.
The Sacramento Transit Riders Union believes that employers have a legal duty to bargain in good faith with their employee's representative. We believe riders will be best served by employees who are well-trained, fairly compensated, and feel confident in their standing at their workplace. The retention of experienced employees means better service for the public. We support the ongoing negotiations and hope that an equitable solution can be found and that you return to the bargaining table to ensure that employees are able to continue to provide the best service possible for riders. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gerber. Mr. Huerta, you're next.
Mr. Chair?
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Since I know we're adjusting to some new protocols here tonight in chambers, suggestion I'd like to make is that when we have members of the public that are speaking on items from consent, that we have the clerk read the item before speakers speak to it. That way people that are watching understand the context in which some of the comments are being made.
It's a very good point, Mr. Cerna, Director Cerna. Madam Clerk, do you want to read this item just for the sake of?
Certainly. Would you like me to read 2.3 as well?
No, just 2.4. Let's continue forward.
Thank you. Agenda item 2.4, resolution approving the terms and implementing the last best and final offer in lieu of a collective bargaining agreement for Operating Engineers Local 3 Administrative Employees Association for the term of February 16th, 2020 through September 30th, 2022.
Felix.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Felix Worst. I'm with the Operating Engineers. Nowhere in any bargaining that's ever taken place with a city, county, special district have I ever been told that they're going to try to impose a 3-year terms and conditions. 3 years. That doesn't happen in the police, fire, anywhere. This is a violation of the law. You cannot impose a 3-year terms and conditions, number one. Number two, we gave you a copy of what we were proposing last month in January. The proposals that you have before you today are concessionary proposals that are less economic value than the month before. We are still in bargaining. You cannot impose terms and conditions if we continue to bargain. Now, I said the last time, you have not changed your proposal since October 17th. But the fact that the union continues to negotiate and the union continues to make concessionary proposals is not impasse. What you are going to do is in violation of the law. And I've said this before, the operating engineers will not stand for it. So I hope that you can be convinced not to take this action and to take this off the table. We have a lawsuit that's scheduled for May. They're dealing with the 5% issue. That's the biggest issue that we're dealing with. I would recommend that we wait until after that court case in May and then resume bargaining once we do not have a gun to our head about bargaining. None of you would accept that proposal ever. Never. So it's unfair for you to impose this on us today. I would hope that you would not take this action today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. I don't see any board members who wish to speak. Do we have a motion on the consent calendar?
I'll move consent.
Second. Motion from Director Howell, a second from Director Budge. Staff, any comments? No? Okay. Call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Consent calendar passes.
Motion carries at 100 votes.
So,
The next item, introduction of special guests, item 3.1, information, employee service recognition by Mr. Lee.
Good evening, Chair, Hines, members of the board and the public. For the last quarter, October to December 2019.
Henry, can you turn your mic on? I don't think it's on. Yeah.
Thank
There you go. Yep.
For the last quarter, October to December 2019, Sacramento had a total of 6 service award recipients. 3 of those recipients are in attendance to accept the certificates and our gratitude to the years of service. Attending to these 3 people are, Mechanical A, Mr. Min Nguyen, with 30 years of wonderful service. Could you please stand up and go to the middle, please? Second is Reza Kansara, Transportation Supervisor with 25 years of
Come on.
wonderful service.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Congratulations.
And then next is Junior Terry, our Senior Manager, Procurement Service, for wonderful 20 years wonderful service. And then there's three, other recipients not be able to join us. And they are Ron Hoff, line work technician with 30 years of service. Ricky Jones, bus operator with 30 years of service. Mark O'Brien, electric mechanics with 30 years of service. And we would really want to thank everyone for the dedication and for the wonderful service to the community.
So,
Mr.
hold on. We missed one.
No,
I signed a certificate for 30 years for somebody who is in this room, but may not have allowed herself to receive a certificate, and that's Miss Cindy Brooks for 30 years. 30 years. Cindy, you can get away with a lot, but you can't get away without us clapping for you.
Well, thank you for the clap, but my 30 years actually doesn't end until the end of September.
Well, I
So
signed
I'll
the
be up here
certificate.
later. Yes, we will. I promise you, we will.
Okay, right here. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
One more for this gentleman.
Perfect, thank you.
Back there where the Boyd Court values are.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Next item number 6, public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda.
We have 7 speakers for item 6. First up is Jeffrey Tartagia, then Sarah Michael, and then Barbara Stanton. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Tartagia, 5th and T Street. This is where this came from. The reason I bring this up is, Phil, when I said to you last meeting about dealing with the 11, the problem is that, and apparently, although this went through dispatch, you have no parent system that puts in order when you have changes. And the problem was the 11th Street, the 3rd Street is basically got so much construction on it that you have 7th and T, and the next one is 2nd and V Street is the next bus stop that you have in between there, and you apparently have no recognition of any of this occurring, although I went through dispatch to make sure that confirming that all of those bus stops in between were inaccessible. 88 and 86 is also not marked on the website, that has been for 6 months under construction, so it's on L Street through there. Since I only have 2 minutes, I'm also going to remind you on the 38 and others that go to by the hospitals that it would be a wonderful thing if your drivers had some type of blue protective padding rather than a, shall we say, series of rolls. I had 2 2 bus drivers, and they had no clue about calling in a biohazard because somebody that was going to the hospital was draining fluid on the bus. It's training that needs to be happening, and it needs to be some type of checklist to make sure that things like this, for people that are going to the hospital, that there's some place of doing something to assist better on that. This is why I carry these things now of what's going on and happening. I have lost my time, so the compliment what is going to be is the L and 14th Street, the parking spots have been marked off. Please do the same at 9th and L for those situations with buses.
Thank you, Mr. Tartagia. Sarah Michael. Welcome, Miss Michael. And then Barbara Stanton, and after Barbara is Stephen Barossa.
Hi, I'm Sarah Michael. Normally, I'm in an electric wheelchair, but it is broken. And thanks to aging into Medicare, it's going to be about 2 to 3 months before I
Can you
get it.
speak into the microphone, ma'am?
There, okay.
Thank you.
I'm here today because I need an answer. Why does RT have issue with this? This is durable medical equipment, a wheelchair. I use it right now. I'm all I have. When I need to shop, this is what I use. Some bus drivers, some train operators, they get it. They know life is tough. They let me on. I got into Rancho Cordova the other day. The train operator, though, coming back downtown to where I live, 9 o'clock at night, refused to let me on because this was now full. I can't lift it. I told him, let me on, I'll set it off and sit in the chair. He wouldn't comply with that. I can't pick that up when it's full, hold it in one arm, push with the other. I don't have this shoulder. This one's next on the operating table. This takes up no more room than if I were sitting in the chair and someone were standing behind me. I'm doing the best I have with the little bit that is afforded me. I have no family. I have nobody. So when I have to go shopping, when I have emergencies, when I have whatever, and my chair is not available, this is it. Yet you folks stand there and say we have the right to tell you you can't travel on our system. And I want to know why. What is the issue?
Ms. Michael, thank you for coming tonight. I'd like to have Lisa Hines, who's in charge of our security, work with you to make sure that we can get the information to the operators. She's in the back. Lisa, will you wave? She'll connect with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Natoli and then Director Cerna.
I think Phil had his up first, though. But Phil,
Oh,
yeah, you're up.
thanks. So I just, there was part of the testimony that made me think here, all of it made me think, but the part about inconsistency, if that's true in terms of some operators permitting our constituent to use the wheelchair that she brought in today, and then others not, that really bothers me, in addition to some of the other things that were mentioned. But what do we have in place, Mr. General Manager, to make sure that we have the expression of consistent policy to folks in that situation?
We have a consistently, train our operators to make sure treat our employee, our passengers, in a fair way or the same way. I would like to ask Doc, can you quickly report to the board about what you have been doing and how you try to make.
Good evening, members of the board, Chair. We are instituting a new training curriculum for anybody with disabilities. Doug Cross was, or not Doug Cross, Doug Cross was assisted everybody in designing it. It will go over all of our expectations for anybody on the bus, on the train. I apologize. There was no reason that you got left behind. I'm going to give you my card so you can get in touch with me. We also purchased TAPCO training modules for all the operators, both paratransit and regular operators. It goes through 28 different modules. One of them is boarding and alighting wheelchairs.
All right. Does that answer your question, Director Cerna?
I guess it does, but I just, and it's not just this instance. It's any time we have, whether it's this agency or the other agencies that we represent, when we have constituents that are communicating different treatment based on just happenstance, whoever the operator is that day. In the case of our service, that's something that we have to really go over and above to make sure it does not happen. And if there's a valid reason why a particular piece of apparatus cannot, come on our vehicles, then that has to be clearly explained. So I'm hopeful that part of the training is also how the operators and our other personnel are communicating with those that we serve. We don't know, for instance, whether or not there's certain wheelchair types that don't anchor the same as others, and perhaps there's a real legitimate safety reason. I don't know. But I just want to make sure that we are absolutely treating everyone the same, especially when it comes to a sensitive issue like this.
I agree with you, Mr. Cerna. And also, we are going to have a secret shopper program starting, where they'll be riding along, making sure, and it's directly related to this, because they'll be checking, making sure the operator's doing their job, asking folks to move to a seat if they can't tie down the wheelchair, and making sure those passengers are safe.
And in the meantime, whenever we receive this type of complaint, we immediately investigate. We immediately talk to the the operators or whatever are responsible for this, and we actually try to do a little bit above and ground, not just training. Sometimes take some disciplinary actions. We treat this extremely serious.
Director Natoli?
Yeah, most of the questions have been answered. I guess I just wanted to point out that I think certainly consistency is very important, but I think paramount to that is utilizing some discretion and judgment when it's called for. And again, it's not to break rules, but if you have a single female at 9 o'clock at night in a winter night that has a wheelchair, obviously, has groceries or whatever she had or goods, until she couldn't ride the train, something wrong with that picture. Again, and if there was some, to the points being made here, some consistency relative to where you would be seated, or the chair tie down or something, that could be a part of it. But I guess, Henry, that to me is, you can train, but part of it is exercising judgment. I would think for the most part we do a good job at that, but that to me is a situation. If that were to occur again, I would hope that we've never had that situation occur like that again. So, thanks.
Thank you. Barbara Stanton, then Stephen Barossa. Welcome, Ms. Stanton.
Hi. Happy New Year, Chair Hansen and directors. I hope you can do ride-alongs so you can monitor your drivers on what they're doing with people, especially people in wheelchairs. That would be a good idea. But anyway, I only have 2 minutes, so I want to bring this forward. It has come to our attention that not all Smart Ride on-demand vans are created equal. One of our riders was taking the 82 to CSUS to get a 30 to come in town. The 82 was late, and the 30 pulled out before he could get off the van, off the 82 in his wheelchair. So he decided to call the Smart Ride to get a ride from CSUS to downtown 17th and K. When the Smart Ride van arrived, the driver told him, "I cannot take you because my lift doors will not open." So he called in and said, "Oh, this person is in a wheelchair, so you'll have to send another van." So we are concerned that not all smart vans are ADA compliant. They should all be compliant. The end result was, by the time the other smart van was going to come, the 30 came, so he got on it, and he went downtown to a meeting that I was supposed to meet with him 25 minutes late. So there is a little problem about smart vans being ADA compliant. We did send an email. He did sort of get a response, and I didn't get a response to our questions. So we would like to know how many vans since the program started were not in working order and had to get another van or pass up people. So we are concerned about the ADA compliance and would like to know if there's any stats on how many people had been passed up or told they couldn't get on the van.
Yep.
Thank you.
We'll have our staff follow up and get back to you.
Thank you.
Stephen, and then Hal Goldfarb, and then Robert Copland is the last and then Sarah Kerber. Is that 2? No, sorry. Yeah, I'm losing my mind. Yeah. No, sorry, Stephen.
Sure.
I thought we already did public comment with you, Sarah. Sorry.
So, greetings, board and staff. Tonight, I'm really concerned about the Sacramento Valley Station project. I'm thrilled with phase 1 where they restored the original station, but it's taken a serious bad turn since then, where now the current plan, they don't know what they're going to do with that station. And it's a developer's cornucopia of dream sky rises, including a hotel and such, and grand green visions taking up much space in real estate. And it seems, again, transportation is just getting the bottom of the barrel in consideration for this project. Really, you should scratch it and go back to stage one. And here's a couple just highlights. It's hard to do a vision plan in 2 minutes, but here's some highlights I'd like to suggest. One is keeping the original station for ticketing, kiosks, ticketing for RT, heavy rail, the new bullet train, and also Greyhound. Get that in there as well. You could have baggage, safe bike corral. Also let traffic drive in there with right at the front at I Street with short-term Uber, Lyft service, bicycle, ped, coming in through that main gateway. You have an unfortunate arrangement now with this one level of parking and a bus corral and everything stuffed on the west northern part of the property with this bottleneck at 3rd Street. And then also you want to have light rail going through it as well. It's just a nightmare. You need, right now you have 400 spaces serving commuter rail. You want to add bullet trains to LA. Now you're going to look at some long-term parking. So you're going to need more parking, not reducing parking in half, but actually doubling parking, tripling parking. The pavilion going over the rails, that's nice with shops and eateries and things to entertain passengers and gets you to the bullet train and to commuter rail. That's great. But now on the east side of the property, you got to have your bus connections there. All your buses funneling in. Just if I have just a couple more seconds to wrap this up, you're talking about EV charging for buses, so they're going to have to park there at least 15 minutes and ideally 30 minutes to get any kind of significant charge from that station. Being a CARB mandate, everything's probably going to electric soon enough. So those are some considerations. And just even in this quad, you still have room for high rises and hotels and maybe another parking structure.
So Stephen, the project is a city project, and Mr. Harris, it's in his district. So you might want to come talk to us.
Well, I understand it's a partnership between RT and the city, yes?
Yeah, but the city's the lead agency, so you probably have to wrangle us.
Well, I start here, I plant the seeds.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Goldfarb, and then Robert Copland, and then Sarah Kerber.
I'm here tonight with the SAC True Crew. First, I should start out by acknowledging Director Kennedy for participating in the recent SAC True Challenge. I have to say I'm disappointed that there weren't more people on the board who are interested in participating. Now, I'm sure you have your reasons for it, but I want to point out something. My impression from this, and I know it's not your intention, I mean, I know you're busy people. In addition to your RT duties, you also have your various cities and counties and so forth. I understand. You have two jobs, 3 jobs. You're multifunctional. You're doing a lot of meetings and so forth. That said, that makes you very busy people. I acknowledge that. But I want to point out something that the riders, some of these people are very poor. They're working 2 and 3 jobs. They rely on the buses too. They're students. They're people who don't have their own vehicle. And, that makes them busy people too. And let's also recognize something. Those people are not earning the kind of money that I'm sure you people are. I mean, let's just be honest about this. So they're a lot more stressed out. They're a lot more under pressure. I would like to see more of you participating in these challenges when they come up. And I hope that in the future you'll change your mind and decide to participate. I'd love to know some of your reasons for not participating, but if you don't want to share them, I'll understand that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldfarb. Mr. Copland?
Hi, my name is Robert Copeland. I echo the last speaker. I want to see every one of you on Little Bus at least once or twice a month to see how the riders are actually doing on RT. Apparently, Patrick Kim's the only one that cares. He took the challenge and probably won. Because none of you, now I'd like to see the rest of the city councils and county board members that are not on the RT board also take the challenge, or at least ride it once or twice. Two, can you have your bus drivers be a little more courteous? Because I don't want to get on a bus up Fruit Ridge or Freeport and have the bus driver complain about traffic all the way down to 19th and L. I think that's disrespectful. And then when I got off, it was right in the middle of the street. That's also disrespectful to the riders. What happened if I was in a wheelchair? As far as the SAC forward, I think I would give that a 2 out of 10. I think it's a failure. I'm sorry to say that. I wish it was a better. I don't think the RT can fix their problems by themselves. But the city councils of all these cities and county boards can help. Because what do you need? You need riders. That means jobs, places to go, housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland. Sarah Kerber is our last speaker on comments not on the agenda.
Hello, my name is Sarah Kerber with the Sacramento Transit Riders Union. I'm here tonight to talk about the SAC-RT Challenge, which we view as a celebration of public transit and everyone who rides it. SAC-TRU would like to thank everyone who participated in the SAC-RT Challenge, including SAC-RT staff, political candidates, and members of the public who are just big transit enthusiasts. We believe the best way to make meaningful, informed choices to improve our public transit system is through firsthand experience of what riding on public transit in our community is actually like. Our winner this year is again someone who is dedicated to improving public transit and mobility options in our system, regularly advocates for more funding for our region, supports expanding service in our communities, and is a regular public transit rider himself, Supervisor Patrick Kennedy. We would also like to recognize General Manager CEO Henry Lee for participating in the challenge and encouraging his staff to use public transit as well. As you continue to serve on the SAC-RT Board of Directors, we hope you will ride our public transit system and embrace this fun community event to help create enthusiasm and excitement around our public transit. We understand that using public transit is more challenging in some communities and hope this experience highlighted how important it is to constantly advocate for public transit in your roles as board members to ensure our system provides equitable access, opportunity, and economic development in our region. SAC-TRU looks forward to working with the members of the board and SAC-RT staff in the future to improve public transit access for all riders in our region. We hope we can take a quick picture with Supervisor Kennedy and
Supervisor,
Mr. Lee.
would you like to? You should stay out there because the next item's for you too.
Part-time SAC-TRU.
Critical focus.
Congratulations, Director Kennedy. Living 3 blocks from work, I have not yet found the bus line to service my needs, but there's other ways. Yes. All right. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item, new business, item 7.1, resolution commending Patrick Kennedy will be presented by Chair Hansen, and we still need a motion in a second.
Yes. So why don't we do a vote first? Do we have a motion for the item?
Move approval.
We have a motion from Director Miller, a second from Director Budge. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion passes unanimously. No. That motion passes still strongly. All right, we have a very long list of accomplishments of Mr. Kennedy during his 2 years as chair. I'll just highlight a few of them, but there's about 15 of them on here, Mr. Past Chair. Unveiled 4 trains with art wraps, launched micro transit in communities throughout the county, helped bring in funding not only from the state of California, but also from SACOG, expanded late night light rail service to the city of Folsom, helped lead the process for SAC-RT Forward, the redesigned bus network, received the Gold Standard Award from the TSA, led the board to reduce fares, helped with the annexation of the cities of Folsom and Citrus Heights, free fares for youth grades under 18. I don't know, TK to 12 sounded a little weird. And then launched Airport Express service along with the UC Davis Sacramento service. So congratulations on 2 great years. Thank you for your service, and we hope to continue your success as we go forward. I don't know if anybody else would like to say anything about our past chair? No? All right, then let's go take a photo. Yes, Mr. Lee.
On behalf of about 1,200 employees, I just want to say thank you so much, Supervisor Kennedy and immediately past chair, for your leadership, for your dedication, for your wonderful guidance to the staff, and you care about the community, care about the staff, and care about the regional transit, and you're really a model for all of us to follow in the future. For the time, I'm not going to continue.
Next item, item 7.2, information, transit-oriented development, surplus property update, presented by Brent Berniker.
Good evening, Chair Hansen and members of the board. So over the past few years, SAC-RT has been really developing and completing a comprehensive TOD plan that utilizes its existing resources and finds creative ways to generate revenue, develop and foster partnerships, increase housing opportunities, and work with builders that support increased public transit use. Over this time, SAC-RT has worked with multiple developers, and as a result, we've entered into 4 purchase and sale agreements. 2 of these are with developers that have closed escrow on the properties located at Arden Way and 65th Street. For the projects located at Semo Circle and Calvine, the 2 remaining developers have signed agreements and are nearing the process to close escrow. With that said, I'd like to remind the board that this process does take significant time. A typical agreement takes some time for the developer to evaluate the land, determine the risks, look at remediation, work with various agencies to seek approvals, and then find investors. This typically takes about 18 to 36 months to do. Once these steps are completed, we enter into escrow with the developer, and then the deal is closed. But this is just the beginning. From this point onward, the developer begins the permitting process, pre-construction steps to clear and prep the land, and then finally the developer goes into construction. And this process we'll see is about 12 to 24 months. So now I'd like to focus on the first property located at Arden Way. This is the first one that we actually closed escrow on. This property was placed on the market in August of 2016. We entered into the purchase and sale agreement in January 2018 and closed escrow July 3rd, 2018. The developer that purchased the land is Community Housing Works. They plan to start construction December of 2020. The project will be a 4-story building with 128 affordable apartment homes that will include on-site residential family services and amenities. This next slide is a rendition of the apartments. The target market for these residents is someone making the family making between 30 to 60% of the median income, which is roughly $25,000 to $50,000 annually for a family of 4. Rents are anticipated to range from $420 a month for a studio and up to $1,250 a month for a 3-bedroom. These numbers are based on the 2018 dollars. The second property that we sold was located at 65th Street, and this was placed on the market in August of 2016. We entered into a purchase and sale agreement in December of 17 and closed November of 2019. We got some good news today that the developer has worked with the city, and the city just completed the permitting process. They were kind of in the plans. Now it's completed, so they're hoping to commence construction this month. The first phase of the construction that's planned will include street and utility work on 67th Street and Q Street. This will include building 6 bus berths, pedestrian improvements, a new traffic signal light at the corner of 67th and Folsom Boulevard. SAC-RT staff has brought these concepts to the MAC team for their input. These bus berths are anticipated to be completed in about 4 months. And the construction of this development should begin this summer, and it's anticipated to be completed by fall of 2021, right when Sac State opens for their fall semester. The project will be a 6-story building, so we got a picture of it on the slides, with 223 student housing units, 750 beds, and almost 8,000 square feet of ground floor retail. Due to the proximity of its bus and light rail, this is a perfect location for Sac State students. SAC-RT has a student pass with their university that allows registered students, all registered students, to receive full access to our bus and rail system at no additional cost. The next property is located at Simo Circle in Rancho Cordova. The SAC-RT board declared this property to be surplus in January of 2015, and then we entered into a purchase sale agreement in June of 2016. The plan is to close escrow by the end of this month. The property has been in the works for many years because of some environmental cleanup work that was necessary to address. The developer on this property is USA Property Funds. The project is planned for 165 market rate apartments at about 21 units per acre. The developer is planning to start construction this year and expects to be completed within about 2 years. And then the next property is located at Calvine and Opry. This was placed in the market in August of 2016. SAC-RT signed a purchase sale agreement with Catalyst Development Partners on May 14th, 2019. Since this site is not near a light rail station or a major bus line, SAC-RT was agreeable for the buyer's plans for a multifamily residential project. Closing of escrow on this project is expected to take place about February of 2021, if not earlier.
1 second, Brent. Dunn, do you want to ask a question?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I don't think I've met with the developer. This is right on the boundary between Supervisor Kennedy and it's actually in District 5.
Okay.
Is it zoned for multifamily?
As far as, yes, yep.
What's the zoning? RD20? What?
We can get that for you, though.
Well, I could ask the planning department. I don't need you
Okay.
to run it. I'm just curious. And so it's 4 acres. Again, I'm glad I met with Supervisor Kennedy today. Maybe they get it on my calendar, but I'm just not familiar with. You have the high school adjacent there, obviously.
We do,
and,
yeah.
There's quite a concentration of apartments in the area, so it may be appropriate, but it's not a major street. But so why wouldn't we have that information readily available? If we were selling it, we should have a listing for the zoning and any other criteria.
Yeah, I could get that. I didn't plan to talk about zoning at this point. I think this was just kind of a general update on what we're going to be.
Well, I know, but you're talking about closing a year from now. So I was trying to get some sense about what it is. Do they need a use permit? Do they need other entitlements from the county besides building permits?
I think we're still in the early stages. Like I said, we've entered into a PSA at this point, and escrow still is a way out. This is probably one of the later developments that we've had. I think from a TOD perspective, it's not necessarily what we'd see in it's the 65th Street development and so forth. So, yeah, there's a lot.
Again, I would just suggest, I'm glad to meet my colleague because I maybe thought it was in his district, but I would suggest that even the supervisor represents the area as well. So.
Okay, we can fix that.
Good, thanks.
Director Harris, did you want to ask a question now, or do you want to wait until?
Oh, I just wanted to.
Can you turn your mic on?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about the Symphony Development at 65th and Folsom. This was a very difficult deal to consummate because of an FTA overlay, and it took, about 2 years here to work through all the details. I just want to thank staff for sticking with it. This is a great developer, and I think it will be a real beneficial boost for Sac State University. A lot of good things are happening in that district. We've got a new grocery store that will support the student population, and I anticipate that this will add significantly to ridership on RT.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry. Yes. Do you want to let Brent finish his presentation?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly finish the remaining stuff because there's new stuff, and then
it will come back to you.
Yeah, I just want.
Okay.
Thank you, Brent.
Sure. So the last property that we've been working with is the Florin Light Rail Station. This property is about 20 acres of land with some great development potential. We've been working with the community and to get input from the residents. In March of 2019, We posted a RFI, a request for information, to solicit information from the developers regarding a joint development opportunity at this location. We received 5 responses, which included proposals for mixed use, affordable housing, commercial uses, transit-supportive densities that blend the surrounding neighborhoods together, collaborative partnership opportunities that include services for housing, jobs, health, and other community needs, neighborhood amenities such as parks, and other various forms of potential joint development is what they've asked for. With some recent tax reform rules, it's positioned this parcel to be a great opportunity because this is an opportunity zone, so it will give some advantages for investors. And we're now in the process of getting a RFP brochure together for this. We'll have our standard RFP, and then we'll have a 2 or 3 page brochure that we'll be handing out. We're really excited about what we can see with this area. It is a large area, so we're curious to see what kind of development will arise. And then finally, what we've been doing is we've been working with local agencies to come up with a TOD program that can provide all the stakeholders with just our plan for land use and and showing that public transit is really critical in this process. This project is anticipated to be completed by the end of the month. And as we progress with these projects, we'll continue to provide feedback to the board through the GM weekly update. So this concludes the presentations, and I'll stop there.
All right, Mr. Lee, and then we'll come back. Did you want to say anything else?
Oh, why don't you know?
Okay, Director Natoli.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk with Supervisor Kennedy. He indicates that the old Calvine extended is the boundary. I'm a little surprised by that, but nonetheless, if that's the case, they did meet with Supervisor Kennedy, so I just wanted to stand corrected if that's the case. So they have met with the Supervisor District as of today. So
Okay.
Anyway, so
Thank you.
Any other members of the board? Linda?
Can we assume that when you're talking about Mill Station, you're talking about your participation in our Civic Center plan?
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned Mill Station though.
Yeah.
Oh, just in the 4 properties that we just talked about, or
Yeah.
are you talking about the TOD plan at the
Action
end?
plan.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking yes.
So the answer is yes.
Yes. Let me just confirm
great.
with Tracy though before.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's part of the Great, thank you.
Right. Anything else from the board? No? Henry, did you want to say something?
Yes, I just first wanted to thank some of our board directors who are providing extraordinary support and guidance in this process. Director Harris and worked with us very closely on the 65th station. That is a true TOD project. That is the first TOD project for our light rail since 30 years ago. We built light rail line, and we promised community we're going to do something, and finally we get this done. So thank you so much on that. And also, Director Jay Chenier and Rick Jennings and Kennedy and actually, attorney, we talk about those sites a lot about how we can, make those projects, happen and finish it. And even Director Budge, we talked about the Civic Center, how we try to make something happen over there. And this is really some extremely difficult project, but gone through the process and we learned a lot, and we made some significant progress. And also I want to thank staff, Brent, Tracy, and Renee, and our legal team, Olga, and the staff, from I mean, more than 10 years ago, we had a line staff, real estate development, department, 9 staff. And we didn't really get anything done more than 10 years ago. Now we only have actually just 1 staff, Renee just joined us about 2 months ago. Correct. Right? And, Tracy and, and the previous, staff work on the real estate department, only 1 person. And we made this happen in 3 years. So, I really want to thank 2 previous chair, Jay and Pat, for you guys, really guiding us through this whole process. So, and this is a great teamwork, board, staff, and community. And I just want to, to share, this stories.
Great work, Tracy, Brent, and the whole team.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. I don't see anyone else from the board who wishes to speak. General Manager's report.
Again, good evening, Chair Hansen, members of the board and the public. And a couple things. At the end of January, Koch led a delegation of the board members to San Diego to highlight recent transit-oriented development around the new bus rapid transit and the express bus lines. Over 25 elected officials, including our own director, Janice Chenier, plus myself, we participate on the delegation trip, and as you can see from the pictures, we visited bus and the light rail stops. It's a shocking story to us because SENDAT, which is SACOG over there, they focus on the transit and the transit. They moved money from the roads to the transit. And as you say, SACOG recently launched our comprehensive corridor study where we hope to identify key communities and to implement a network of bus rapid transit and express lines. Caltrain District 3 Director Amjad joined us on the tour, and we had been coordinating with him on a number of projects, including a potential bus and shoulder pilot for our airport and causeway service. On another subject, the California Transportation Commission, CTC, hosted the January meeting in Sacramento 2 weeks ago. As you know, the Commission CTC is responsible for allocating funds for the construction of highway, passenger rail, transit, and active transportation improvements throughout California. They invited me to provide a welcome presentation and to highlight how we are leading the transit industry in innovation and many best practices. Later that evening, the commissioners tested out SACOG's downtown smart ride service with a group of commissioners being transported by our electric bus to the next event. We received great feedback from the commissioners. In March, we expect to have some business items in front of the CTC, including the reallocation of $25 million in Prop 1A funds to support our light rail modernization to help us purchase light rail vehicles. We will also soon be submitting a competitive grant application to the Solutions for Congested Corridors program. As I mentioned, we submit a $120 million grant to CalSTA 2 weeks ago for the rail yard double tracking project. Next topic, in last week, I have had the privilege of sitting down with California State Treasurer Fiera Ma and the Sacramento State Senator Richard Penn. Treasurer Ma is very interested in helping further SACOG's TOD goals and will look to identify opportunity zones that can lead to some investment in Sacramento area. Senator Penn is passionate about reducing the greenhouse gas footprint of state workers. We updated him on many SACOG initiatives, and we will be working with him and the Air Quality District to champion a commute benefit program for the Sacramento region too. Then to finish my report, I would like to introduce and ask Brent for update our fiscal year 2020 second quarter performance, including positive ridership numbers and the budget performance. Brent, the podium is yours.
Thank you, Henry. So financials, great, fun part of the night. So we got good news to show. We completed the second quarter results, and as you can see, revenues, and this is on the far left portion of this chart. On the far left, you'll see that revenues came in higher than expenses by about $2.1 million for the second quarter. When you look at it year to date, there's a surplus of about $3.5 million. When we see these results, we're very happy. Some things to look forward in the future, though, is we've actually seen some potential results in the federal funds are expected to go down about $1 million at this point in time, and some state and local funds are expected to go down about $2 million. We're waiting for the apportionment schedules to be revised. Those will probably be reflected in the February timeframe when those are approved by the different boards. But other than that, things are looking good. We also have some positive news coming out of the federal area with a CNG tax rebate. That should come in shortly as well. So we've got some puts and takes, but right now things are looking solid. The next thing that's really great news is the ridership has gone up. If you look at the second quarter, you'll see ridership compared to the same time last year has gone up 7.1%. When you look at it year to date, it's up 5.8%. This is outstanding. If you dive deeper into some of these numbers, which we've been doing, you'll see route by route, the majority of our routes are going up. But the main factor that's driving this is the student-free initiative. What we found is in the first couple months of doing the student-free initiative, ridership grew for that population by about 40%. In December, it grew 75%. And in January, we saw that go up 100%. So, and this is just what we saw the same results when we lowered fares for that group. It was something that just didn't give us a quick blip. It kept going up and up and up. And I think it's the word of mouth with students. So this is really great news. Ridership, in fact, I'm going to give you a sneak preview into January. Ridership in January is already up. If you look at bus, it's up 10%, and if you look at rail, it's up 4% in January. So these are really great statistics. When we look at a 12-month trend, everything's looking positive in both bus and rail. This is what we're really excited about. You can see that it's up about 5.3% in bus, and if you look at the light rail, it's about 6.3%. And then the last thing we want to report on is crime statistics. And you can see that when you compare the events for some year-to-date events, you can see that actually crime went down 14.1%. What we did, though, in this is there was 2 incidents that happened at the Franklin station where it was a burglary that happened to multiple cars, so it's kind of an anomaly. So we took that out of the statistic because that's not a continual pattern that you'll see whether you're riding a light rail or a bus system. So when you take those out, you'll actually see that there has been a decrease in that crime. With that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Brent. We have one member of the public signed up to speak, Jeffrey Tartagia.
Jeff Tartagia. 2 suggestions to the general manager. One, with this construction going on at 65th Street, is it feasible to take and relocate the buses for the time that you've got this construction tearing up and everything else through there to the Power Inn locations, so you do not have the construction and other issues while you are building this? It's just an out-of-the-box thought that I bring to the general manager's attention. Second thing is, and this is to you, Stephen, before you cancel any more board meetings, please consider what this board needs to know about light rail cars, the configuration, the layout, what needs to be for, should we say, projects that have been going on for more than a year as pilot projects that you've seen no reports back about either the expense or the results or the outcome. In light of the fact that you're saying ridership is going up, isn't it about time that between 8 and 9 o'clock and 5 and 6 o'clock that you actually give back what are the statistical numbers and the route numbers? I mention those 2 times is because they are commuter times. One is when you have, should we say, drivers, riders, and you have staff present between 8 and 9, but you don't have it between 5 and 6. And on November 4th, when I got out of the one meeting at the Archive Plaza, the signs up there said at 5:30 that it would be 15 minutes before Gold Line would be around. Yet people had already had 3 blue lines go by in that time slot. problem is after 5 o'clock is where dispatch and where is being supervised. So please look at those considerations.
Thank you.
And those two time peoples would be a good time to see what populations are really like.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Director Budge, I believe you have an oral report to give on the Sacramento-Placerville JPA board meeting, according to Ms. Brooks.
But it's not my turn.
Yep.
You're going to skip the other ones?
I think we have written reports for all the other ones.
Yeah, okay. So, it was a very short meeting. There were only 3 of us, and then there were 4 of us when Supervisor Natoli arrived. The only action items were approval of the minutes and extending an offer of employment to the lady who has been secretary. And everything else was reports that have either generally been through this body already, like the street improvements at Bradshaw, from Bradshaw on Folsom Boulevard from Bradshaw to Mayhew Tiber, and the double tracking in Folsom. We were distressed to hear that Supervisor Shiva Frenson is going to be termed out, and that there's no telling who will replace her until after the elections. She has brought a tremendous, she's a tremendous asset to this particular body, and we will all miss her. The next meeting is in May, and I want to thank whoever assigned a new representative from Regional Transit to this as a staff person to the JPA, because we now have the Director of Light Rail Maintenance, Michael Cormay, and he is going to be a tremendous asset to this body because he has a rail background. He used to work for heavy rail and whatnot, and was just a terrific person to meet, and I really appreciate the fact that he's there now. So if Carrie or Don has anything to add.
No, I don't.
No. Okay.
Chair did a wonderful job at the meeting.
Well, I could say that too, but.
Excellent. Anything else on the general manager's report? No. All right. Reports, ideas, questions from directors? I don't see any. I just want to thank our staff. We had a broken crossing arm at 10th and O that was malfunctioning, and within half an hour of it being reported, I heard from a constituent. Staff were out there and got it working again and eased a major traffic backlog. So thank you for being so responsive and helping to fix that issue. And with that, we're adjourned.